Okay, hello Cloud Gurus and welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we're going to look at cross-region replication. So this is a lab and you will need to log into the AWS console. Okay, so here I am in the AWS console, and if I just click on S3, I'll be able to see my buckets. Let's just create a new bucket just so I can show you. So we'll do cross-region replication and then just some random numbers. I'm going to go ahead and hit create. Now, to enable cross-region replication, we need to go into the bucket. We need to go over to management, and we need to click on replication. And this is where we create our cross-region replication rules. So let's go ahead and add a rule. And you'll see that this bucket doesn't have versioning enabled, and cross-region replication requires versioning to be enabled on the bucket. So I can just click in here to enable versioning, but let's go back to the bucket that we created that we were doing with our versioning lab. So a Cloud Guru versioning in here. I'm going to go over to management and I'm going to set up my replication rules. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to show you we've already got an object in the bucket. We've already got two versions of this object. And what we're going to do is we're going to enable cross-region replication. And what do you think will happen to these two objects? Do you think they'll be replicated automatically, or do you think we'll need to go in and do some changes? Well, let's go over to replication, hit add rule, and we're going to replicate the entire bucket. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Of course, you can replicate based on prefixes or tags. So if you had a tag on an individual object, maybe the finance department, it would only replicate those objects. In here, we have no destination buckets. So you can click in here and you could do it in buckets in an account or buckets in another AWS account. I'm just going to go ahead and hit create bucket. And in here, I'm going to create my DNS bucket. So I'm going to call it cross-region replication, and then a whole bunch of random numbers. And then we need to select the region. I'm going to replicate this to Ireland. So I'm going to pick the Irish region. So go ahead and hit, before I hit next, just note that you can change the storage class for your replicated objects. So you might want it to go from S3 to S3 infrequently accessed. And you can also change ownership. I'm going to leave everything as default. In here, we need to select our IAM role. We're going to create a new role, which will automatically create a role within Identity Access Management, allowing us to do the replication. And in here, we've got to give our replication rule a name. So I'm going to call it CRR Ireland, something like that, Ireland. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit next. We can review everything, and then all we have to do is go ahead and hit save. It can take a few moments to set that up, but once it's set up, it is ready to go. So it will look like this. So you can see here our source, our destination, and our permissions, and we can edit the settings in here. If we go back over to S3, we'll be able to see our new bucket. So here it is. Note that it has automatically got the same permissions as the other one. And if we go into it, we can't see any objects. And if we even go and look at the different versions, there are no objects in there. So what this means is that when we set up cross-region replication, essentially it's not going to do the objects that are already in that bucket. So you would have to go in and upload those manually. Let's go and upload a file. So we're going to upload version 3. I'm going to go ahead and hit open and hit upload. And you can see that that's now the latest version. If we click on the file, we should be able, we're going to get the permissions error because we haven't made it public. Let's go ahead and make this object public. So go actions, make public, and make public. And so now if we go in and have a look at the file, we'll be able to see, here it is, hello Cloud Gurus, this is version 3, this is the best version. Let's go and see what has just happened with our bucket. So if we go back over here and we go over to cross-region replication, you'll be able to see it in here, and it is going to be the latest version. So as soon as we start making changes to a bucket with cross-region replication turned on, those changes will automatically be replicated. Let's go back to our bucket and go and have a look at the different versions. If we actually turn versioning off, or we'll hide versioning and go over to here and go actions delete, let's see if that is going to delete the object in the other bucket. So we can see it here. It's got a delete marker over it. We've got the 3 different versions. If we go back to S3 and go to our bucket with cross-region replication, you can see that the delete marker has not been replicated. So if you do put a delete marker in the your original bucket, it's not going to replicate that delete marker to the other bucket. And that's been done deliberately by Amazon to stop people from accidentally replicating deletes from one bucket to another. Let's try one last thing where we go in and delete the actual version. So if we go in here and we go ahead and we can delete our delete marker, so that will restore our object. And then if we actually go in and delete the latest version, let's see if that will automatically delete in the cross-region replication bucket as well. So if we go back over here and click on cross-region replication, you can see that it is still the latest version. So basically, once you turn cross-region replication on, it's not going to replicate delete markers, and it's not going to replicate when you go in and delete individual versions. So let's go over to my exam tips. And so on to my exam tips. Remember that versioning must be enabled on both the source and the destination buckets in order for replication to work. Remember that files in an existing bucket are not replicated automatically, and we saw that in our lab. We have to add new files. All subsequent or updated files will be replicated automatically. Delete markers are not replicated, and then deleting individual versions or delete markers will also not be replicated. And then just understand what cross-region replication is at a high level. So that is it for this lecture, everyone. If you have any questions, please let me know. If not, feel free to move on to the next lecture, which is on transfer acceleration.